Hey everybody, this is Rob with the Board Boys podcast, giving this video review thing a try. This is our first official video review that's not a live play, so bear with me. I picked up a game at Gen Con called Mystery House. I didn't know anything about it at the time, but somebody in line had mentioned that it was an escape room type game where you kind of are looking inside of a physical box, peeking inside of a house, trying to find clues. It had an app, and you were solving clues and puzzles and things like that. So that was what led me to buy it kind of sight unseen. There were 4 or 5 left in a pile there, and I decided to snag it and pick it up. So let's go ahead and open the box and see what's inside. Alright, so we've got Mystery House here. The first thing you'll notice is I accidentally ripped my box a little bit here. It's not a normal box. The outside is actually very thin. It's almost like a mass market type box that you'd get there. It's very flimsy. I wasn't too impressed with that, but I can see kind of why they did it. I mean, they could have made the box a little sturdier, I guess. Got a rule book here in the rule book. We'll just kind of flip through it a little bit. It just talks about setup. The game actually comes with 2 adventures. They are one-time playable. They're not destroyed or anything like that, but once you've solved the mystery, there's no reason for you to solve the mystery again. You'll know how to do it. It tells you how to set the game up, which I'll go over here in a second, and it kind of goes over the different actions you can use for the game. So you can explore, use objects, insert codes, ask for help. And it talks about the end game and the game in short, kind of a brief thing right there. If you've ever played any escape room games before that have an app like Unlock, I think this app will be very intuitive for you to use. So, short, concise rule book, easy to get to the point. All right, so here is the cool, unique box right here. As you can see, there's little slots all around here. There are, it's a grid system, so we have 1 through 6 around the edges, and then on the side of the box, right here, are letters. Like this side's got P, Q, R, S, T, A, B, C, D, E, all the way around the box. With this grid system, it's going to let you place the little, I don't know what you want to call them, like placard tiles in the box, and I'll show you that here in a second. So you open this box up. Okay, you can see right there, box. It comes. I'm leaving this piece in here right now. I think it's good for the stability of the whole game in case I accidentally put another game on it. I probably would not stack anything on top of this. It just seems a little fragile. Here are the 2 scenarios that come in the house. One is Mystery House, and one is El Signore del Labirinto. I had to check the app and see what this actually is. I'm guessing because they flew these copies in. The scenarios I got are actually all in Italian, like the box is in Italian. The cards are, so there's 33 carte luego and 19 carte oggetto. I'm not sure what carte luogo, man, I do not speak Italian well. Anyway, I'm not sure what those 2 things mean, but they essentially mean the little placards and then the cards. I have not got to play this one yet, so I'm not going to give my thoughts on it. I'm going to come and probably do a follow-up video after I do this one and see if any of the issues I had with this one are resolved in the second one. But if we dig into Mystery House here, I guess one thing else I want to mention here, as far as components go, the bottom of this was kind of warped, is this plastic piece. I ended up gluing this box, gluing this plastic piece down to the bottom of the box and putting some books on it, and now it sticks. It's really flat, and so it'll make putting these placards in a lot easier. So we're going to go ahead and shut this door down here. And if we look at what we got going on here, here are the placards. And here are the cards. So I'm not going to show you the back of these cards. These all just say family portrait. They have numbers on them. You'll take these cards whenever the app tells you to. They are items that you can acquire as you explore. Now, how we would set this up, if you can see these, they are lettered J1. So I would look around this box for J1, and I would place the placard right in there for J1. And then if you look at the other side, you notice it says P1, right? And so then P's on this side. So as you're looking in here, you'll be able to reference what you're looking at in the app. I'll be right back in a second. I'm going to go ahead and finish off setting up the box. All right, everyone, I have set up the box here. It's kind of hard to see from the top down there, but you can see how they all have the coordinate grid. Maybe I can show it right here. Now you can look on the inside of this box, and you can kind of see inside a little bit. If I turn it, you can look in there. It's a little dark, but you can kind of maybe see what's going on there. You really got to get in there and look. And sometimes you can see around corners. You're essentially looking inside a house. Some of them have windows, so some of them you're supposed to punch out whatever is perforated before you put it in there. So there's windows you can look through. So let me kind of go and talk about the gameplay now. Okay, Mystery House has an app. And on the app, you need to first decide which game you're going to play, Family Portrait or the other one. So we play Family Portrait. There's a little story you can read, and then it will give you a time limit, and then there's a play button. You hit play, your timer starts counting down, and then down here you have a bunch of letters. You can press a letter. So let's say we were looking in the box. This game can be played between 1 and 5 people. I recommend playing it probably with 4, for one person on each side of the box. They say if you play with a 5th person, that the 5th person just runs the app. I think that's kind of silly. You could probably all kind of just pass the app around and take turns, but that's what the book recommends. So let's say, for instance, here, I'd want to go and I'd want to check out C1. So on the app, I would press C, and then I would hit C1. Now, C1, it gives me a whole list of things that can be there. So let's say in C1, there was a fireplace that I could interact with. I could hit fireplace. Well, there wasn't one, so I lost 30 seconds of time. But if there was, one of two things would happen. Fireplace isn't a good example because you can't take a fireplace. But let's say it was a newspaper. Let's say I saw a newspaper there. One option is the app will just give you some information about the newspaper, like what is on it. You could read it, whatever. The second option is you could say to take a card. So it might say take card 8 from the deck, and now it's an item you have. Also, that means in the app you also now have that item available to use for you. So let's say later on, for instance, you pick up a key and it's item 6. And you go and there's a door, and you examine the door, and it says this door is locked and it needs a key. So what you can do is in the app, let's say it was on D2, you'd hit press D, then D2, then you'd press the there's a button on here that's for items. I currently don't have any items, but if there were items, I would select the item I wanted to use, and if it works there, like if the key were to work on that door, then it would say the door opens and remove certain placards from the box so you can see into the room you just opened up. So that would maybe bring you into a new room where you could see more things inside the room and investigate more items. If you cannot use the item in that place, then it will tell you and you lose 30 seconds. So first thing you can do is examine things, and it'll either give you information, which is important, or it will give you items, which are also important. You can use items in certain locations, and it will either work or it won't. Whenever things don't work correctly, there is a 30-second penalty. The next thing you can do is enter codes. So if you go to a placard and you see like a desk and there's a drawer on it that's locked, it might say the drawer is locked and there's a 4-digit code that you need to enter. That means you have to go around the house and figure out the puzzle and get the code and enter the code into the app, and if it is successful, you'll move on and continue on checking out the house. You're doing this over and over and over again until you've explored the whole house and you solve the final enigma puzzle. You're supposed to do this under 60 minutes. If you go over, you can continue going. It'll kind of give you it doesn't really give you an official score. It just tells you how long it took you, over the time. If you went over 60 minutes, our game, we went over 60 minutes, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So that's the other thing in the app. You can ask for hints. Like if you have no idea where to go or what area of the house to look at, it'll say, hey, maybe you should check out G4 because there's something there. Or if you can't figure out a puzzle, but you know the placard you're supposed to be on, there's like a multi-hint structure. So you can do the first one, it'll give you like a kind of a vague hint, and if you're really still struggling, you can move down, and there's usually 2 or 3 tiers to that. In my experience, they never give you an answer, so if you can't figure it out from the clues, you could kind of get stuck there as well. And then one last thing the app will do for you is it'll tell you what unlocked cards you should have. I've been calling them placards because they're like the small cards in the house. But so if you've missed something, or like one time we forgot to take one out, I went back through and I could look at my unlocked cards list and then realize, oh, we should really be able to do that and be able to see in this next room. So that's how the game plays. It's very much an escape room mystery style game. But let's go to my pros and cons. All right, final thoughts, pros and cons time. Things I liked about the game. It's a very unique system. I've never seen a game like this before. It's very tactile as you're looking in the house. It's very cool. There are lots of angles and things to think about. I did not at first we didn't realize that when we were looking in, like we would remove a placard and we'd be like, oh, well now we can look straight through here. And then we got stuck, and then I realized, oh, you also can angle, and sometimes when you open it up, you angle because you need to see all the other like entrances and walls of the room. So you might, if you're only looking straight on, you're not turning side to side, you're not really catching and seeing everything. And sometimes it wasn't completely clear what you could and couldn't see until like we opened up our thinking a little bit and said, oh, well, duh, you turn a little bit and now I can see that thing. And we realized that when we looked at a hint, and a hint said, hey, check out S2, and I'm like, I can't see S2, it's way over there. And I said, oh, but if I look through this angle and look that way, I can see S2. So you really need lots of sets of eyes to look at this. It's not like an escape room where, like, let's say unlock, exit, they give you the stuff, you have it, it's right in front of you, and you can obviously see the puzzle you're trying to solve, but you don't know what the solution is. In this, finding out just like going on a scavenger hunt to find the stuff that you need to do the clues is like a whole new level of the game, and that can be frustrating at times. I really like that the app would say, hey, pass the phone to the next person, now they can be the leader, so you can kind of share that responsibility with everyone. Our group didn't really care to pass the phone around, so like I just ran it the whole time, but I really think that's a neat idea to kind of pass that responsibility around. And I think if we weren't learning and kind of tired, we probably wouldn't have. We probably would have passed it around anyway. I really liked how items could build off each other, and it even says this in the rule book. I don't want to give spoilers. I'm going to keep this review spoiler free, but there were instances where, and it was pretty apparent that you had to do this thing, but there were instances where you needed an item to chain with another item to chain with another item. You kind of had to put them all together and use them in a certain order to accomplish something. And I thought that was really cool, the logic of figuring that out. I also think there was the right amount of puzzles in this game. Part of the difficulty in this game, I think, is just finding what you need and where to use it, which is a little different. People may or may not like that. But I think the puzzles were good, and they were, this one was rated 4 out of 5 difficulty. The other one, which I haven't tried yet, is 3 out of 5 difficulty. I'd say for 4 out of 5 difficulty, it was in the middle of the road, I think, in general. We do a lot of escape room games. So I didn't think it was too difficult. And a lot of the difficulty in this game lied in some of the challenges that I'll talk about here in a minute with the cons. I like the fact that the game told you to put the game box on top of the I guess, I don't know what to call this thing. I think I'm going to call it the house. To put the house on the game box, which is pretty flimsy. I ended up stacking a couple of other board games up, and actually, I got the thickest ones I could, and I had it probably up here to where our eye level was, because at the beginning, we had it just on this box, kind of like so, and when it was only this high, we were down here doing a lot of this, and it really hurt your neck. So I think getting this raised up and off the table is a pretty important thing. Otherwise, you're going to be getting a really stiff neck during the game. All right, so let's talk about what I didn't like about the game. One of the main things was, and it was our whole group as well. I have decent eyes. My wife's eyes are not great, and she had a really, really hard time looking in this box and being able to tell what's what. And the rule book talks about using a flashlight on our phone, which we did, but the tiles are glossy, so the flashlight was just glaring off of the tile, making it hard to see anything. I even set up the studio lights, and that helped a little bit, but you had to really get your eye in there, and even now it's really dark and it's hard to see. There were certain parts where it says you can't do it, but we were just kind of stuck, and we were like, well, we think we see something in there, so we'd pull it out and we'd look at it just to make sure. I think, and when I saw this at Gen Con, they had a little flashlight set that they're going to sell as a little accessory add-on, which I think is a cool idea, and I think the flashlights really help. The problem is the glossy cardstock, and I really hope they change that, since you're going to be able to buy more of these later on, is my understanding. Once you have the base game, I can't imagine that these expansions are going to be too expensive going forward, so for an hour worth of fun, once you've got the base game, and you could maybe buy one of these for, I don't know, between $10 and $15, I would guess, looking at other escape room stuff. And it's not like you're destroying anything, so these are you can pass these around to people as well, or you could run the game for somebody else. But getting back to the darkness, the glare was a problem. Being able to distinguish between what a bureau or dresser was, or some of the things in the app when you got the list, were very similar, and it was hard to tell exactly what maybe something was. And at the very end, we had a problem where we had to brute force it, because I guess I should also mention, when I got this game, they gave me I think it was H6 was different because it was a misprint in the game, and they gave me one, but I guess some people didn't get that tile, and if you don't have that tile, you can't finish the scenario. My guess is that'll be fixed for the normal production run. And that wasn't a problem. I switched that out, and I didn't have a problem with that. We had the last puzzle all the way figured out. We knew what we were doing, but we didn't know where to go, what placard to go to enter the code. So we kind of just went around looking, and it turned out there was something on a placard that we didn't really see, or we didn't understand what it was. And I kind of stumbled onto it, and once I figured out where it was, then we entered it and we won. But we wasted a lot of time at the end knowing the answer and just not knowing where to go with the answer. And just to stick with that, I would say that I think if you had like great lighting, like I think a lot of people said there wasn't a problem at Gen Con, but I think like the lighting in the convention center is pretty amazing. I mean, and I have good lights in my house, but this might be even a game that you could play outside in the sun. There's nothing that's, I mean, there's these cards that could potentially blow away, but if you're out like in the daylight or something, it might make the game easier to play. We were playing in my basement. And the last problem I have with it is the app. There's a lot of translation problems with the app. It seems like a lot of broken English. Like I said, this game is not out in stores yet, so my guess is maybe they rushed the app out to get it because they knew they were going to be releasing Summon of the Wild at Gen Con. And maybe they just need to go back through and fine-tune some things. There was also one error in the app. We were getting a hint. It told us to look at a tile, and we sat there and stared at this tile forever until we realized that it wasn't on that tile, and we ended up finding it on a different one. So the help was wrong on one of the puzzles. But all said, this game has a lot of promise. I definitely will continue to buy the expansions that they pop out for these. I'm really dying to play the next one, and I will do a quick little follow-up video when I get to do this bad boy. But all my cons for this game really can be easily fixed. Like, if they just decide to do a print run and like maybe do a different material for these cards, and make them not so reflective, like that'd make the flashlights a lot better. And maybe the flashlights they're going to sell with the game, but or like an LED or something that like my phone flashlight was really reflecting. Like it was really almost pointless. You had to get it like at the just right angle so it wasn't like glaring back at you. And they even recommend phone flashlights for the game. But yeah, if we can do something different with the materials and then the app. I mean, fixing an app is easy enough to do after the fact. So it's not like there's anything wrong with like the base material. The box here is great. It's solid when it's put together. My only little issue was with the house. My only issue was with the outer box is a little flimsy, but that's not a huge deal. Just be careful with it and don't rip it like I did. I hope you liked this video. This is pretty rough. It was a lot harder to put together than I thought. Usually I can bounce off our other co-hosts, but here I'm rolling solo. Doing the solo video review was a lot harder than I thought it was, so I hope I didn't bungle it too badly and you enjoyed this video and it helped you maybe get an informed decision on this game. I definitely would say if you like escape room type games, this is definitely something you should check out. I have no doubt that they will make the app improvements. I gotta believe they're gonna do that. And I think everything else you can kind of live with, and then maybe in the future they'll fix a little bit of the production on the placards, and this can just be an amazing production. Until next time, this is Rob with the Board Boys Podcast. I hope you like board games.